One question, an amazing lineup of CEOs, founders, and experts. This is Marketing for the Now.
Super excited.
Can you hear me? You're 50 yet.
Thank you so much.
That made me feel
Thanks for having me on.
I love how both realize if you're back.
So glad to be
You really
Marketing for now.
Gary.
Good afternoon, Andrea.
Well, good afternoon. January. It's still January. Can I say Happy New Year? This is the first time
literally the 2 minutes before we went on here, I was sending out hope you have a great year email to a couple of friends I haven't spoken to in a while. So my rule is you can say Happy New Year until February 1st. So I think we're by the skim of our teeth still.
Okay. All right. I'm game for that too. Even though people were telling me last week I had to stop saying it. So I'm with you. We're going to come in hot. Today we're talking about some hot takes and we're super fired up to bring Austin Sprins up first. He has an unbelievable following, Gary. He's got 22.5 million followers combined across Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And I love it because he's all about mastering the algorithm and understanding the platform. So super fired up to have Austin here from snowy Flagstaff. Take it away.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Austin, how are you, brother?
I'm doing good. How are you doing, Gary?
Too well. Before we get into it with Austin, I just want to give some shout outs of people watching. Robert K on LinkedIn, what's good? Jesse P on Facebook, hello. Dari Cabrera 33 on YouTube, hello. And Allison Levigood on Facebook, what's good? Let's be very active in the comments. It's great to be with all of you. I think there's a lot of learning, and I think we start off with a bang, because Austin represents something I care about in marketing, which is there's a disconnect with the people in the trenches, in the dirt, actually working the creative media and math strategies of social networks, which are going to be important because the way that television ads are going to work is going to be this way, because all of the streaming services, their ad products are much more social media centric with targeting and creative than television. And then you have a lot of the CMOs that are watching right now that are, not because they're bad people, they're in ivory towers because they manage so much and they're not in the dirt. And so, Austin, I want to really get your hot takes for 23 from the dirt. Like, where's the opportunity for the creators, entrepreneurs, small businesses, and Fortune 500 companies from your personal perspective in amassing what you have?
Interesting. I think for 2023, one of the biggest things is going to be AI. And I know ChatGPT has been getting really big, and I've realized that I think a lot of creatives are going to start using ChatGPT to essentially come up with ideas and concepts, or analyze their own videos and other people's videos to essentially kind of start to figure out trends before they emerge, or kind of to tell them how to make videos essentially step by step.
So Austin, give people an example, because I think this is exactly right. Like right now, everyone's like ChatGPT. It's like, tell a story about 1975 in Mike Tyson's voice, enter. And it's like, oh my God. But what you're saying, and this is absolutely right, from a creative strategy standpoint, you might type in, analyze Mr. Beast's last 5 videos and Austin S's last 7 TikToks. Tell me what is aligned in the title and the copy and the timing they post it, enter. And then that artificial intelligence may spit back something that gives you some creative insight that then may impact the way I make a wine video. Yes?
Yeah, exactly. Essentially allows you to get way more analytical on videos, where instead of spending all the time doing it yourself, watching each video and trying to see it for yourself, you can speed up the process by putting my name in and then putting Gary, or putting Mr. Beast's name in. Or
and by the way, real quick, I apologize.
Yeah.
Why you've blown up so much over the last couple of years, why some names may not work is the data stopped somewhere around mid 2019, but all the evolutions going forward of the ChatGPT competitors, and I'm sure ChatGPT itself, will get more and more and more updated up to the day. Yes?
Oh yeah, I'm sure. And I think it's up to 2021 now. So it's not too far.
Is it? I didn't see that. Is that right? That's awesome.
Yeah. And so I mean, it's amazing for that, but it's even if creators want to kind of take over the managerial side too, they can also kind of talk to ChatGPT in terms of how to write messages to these brands, or essentially for communication.
Austin, do you feel, because I've been on this kick as well, and like I'm reading some of the comments, some people are like it's already being used in our agency. A lot of people, you agree with me that a lot of people are really underestimating how bananas big this AI thing is going to be, yes?
I think absolutely, yeah.
What was your, let's go right into the dirt. What has been the biggest like holy shit that you've typed into ChatGPT that you were like, I cannot believe this?
You want to know what it was for me? It was honestly, I think it was talking with brands, because there's a way that I was writing the brands when I was reaching out with them. But then it's a whole nother thing when I asked ChatGPT to kind of go over my messages so we can kind of go deeper with the brands. They're kind of going through the brand's website and seeing like what the brand's values are and kind of giving me a quick review preview. So you're saying
your ability to reach out to monetize what you do has been upped dramatically by saying to ChatGPT, hey, ChatGPT, I want to talk to Wrigley's Gum. Please analyze their website and social media, like that kind of game.
Yeah, exactly. Because then I feel like it gives me a little bit of a competitive advantage over the other creators who are just reaching out and they're going, Wrigley's Gum, let's work together. Because now when I'm reaching out to them, it's I'm more aligned with the company, essentially.
James Orsini, the OG in the VaynerX world, who's the president, runs the Sasha Group, just said, in the chat, brand, tone of voice, which is exactly right. Austin, these things go super fast.
Yeah.
So a couple other minutes. What else is on your radar? What else should people be paying attention to? What else are you excited about?
Let's see. Last thing I'm really excited about, boxing in the influencer realm. I think it's going to be huge this year. And I know it's really fun for creators because it's a really good way to get in the best shape of your life. But you reach a whole new demographic and the whole new realm that you've never been able to hit before. And you get to fight other creators. And I think it's just a fun thing. I think we should get you a fight, Gary. I'd love to see you.
Honestly, I've thought about it a lot. I want to create an over 45-year-old league for boxing. And I want to, because I'm not looking to get in the ring with you 27. First of all you under 30-year-olds are starting to steroid out, and you guys are scaring me. I need to be with the 45 to 55. Listen, I am willing to fight anybody who has an audience who's over 45 and isn't actually professionally capable of fighting. I'm ready because I'd like to knock someone the fuck out just for like, the problem is if I get knocked the fuck out, I'm not as self-esteemed out as I am. I'm not sure I can deal with on an everyday basis seeing 800 memes of me being knocked out. So I have to focus on this, but I got to tell you, I'm open to it.
See, I think that'd be a lot of fun. And I think dads too, if we start getting a lot of the creators' dads to go in the boxing matches, I don't know. I think that'd be pretty cool.
I will tell you the boxing thing is exactly right. And the thing that I'm looking to do is, you've got this huge pickleball match coming up for tennis fans right before the finals of March Madness with John McEnroe, Andy Roddick, Michael Chang, and Andre Agassi. I think that's going to crush on ESPN. A big one that I've been trying to talk more about is pay-per-view 1-on-1 to 11 basketball. I think that, boxing very similarly, two things stand out to me. Running a race, 100-yard dash with like 5 influencers, like Olympic style, where you train for 8 weeks, and one-on-one basketball, I think would rate heavy. I think that if you and I played one-on-one, even with our small fan bases that are big in the scheme of things, that would do better than people think, because there's something about mano a mano. Fighting is the ultimate, but something that a lot more people would do would play. It's I think a lot more people would do the one-on-one thing and the race thing. So anyway, I think you're on it, Austin. Continued success, brother.
Hey, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. Thank you, everyone watching.
All right. I think glitching out.
Yeah, you're a little robotic, which is exciting to me because you were talking about how everybody else was glitching and now you're glitching, and that makes me.
It really a boxing thing. I'm gonna me out.
All right, Andrew. I think you're still chopping enough that somebody else might have to come in and introduce the next person.
Hey,
Hannah.
Hey.
Hannah, you are always ready.
I'm here.
Everybody, one of the great ways to build a real organization, I'm just going to take a little public service announcement for people that want to build meaningful things. Hannah's worked at Vayner for 9 years or so. 9, right, Hannah? Help me here.
9.5, as I like to say.
And as of a year ago, 13 months ago, right? You started in January of last year?
Yeah.
Is one of my chief of staffs. I have 2. And, I think a lot of people don't realize how much talent they have in the building 3, 6, 9 years in, that instead of doing what they do, bringing them more inner circle to help you scale. And here's another incredible execution of it. Needed somebody, and boom, there she is, as always. Hannah, thank you.
Appreciate it. Next up, we have Lauren Fritz. Lauren is the Chief Corporate Affairs and Marketing Officer at WeWork, and she's all about creating best-in-class global team to deliver impact. A lot of what Gary was just saying now, and listening and learning from WeWork customers along the way. Welcome, Lauren.
Thank you. Thank you both for having me.
Lauren, how are you?
I'm great. I really enjoyed the last conversation because I think the AI conversation is completely almost opposite of what we're having, because we've had a front row seat to really every company around the world and listening to what they're thinking their future of work is. So our insights are coming directly from consumer, from what people are saying out there in the media and social media. So it's been a really interesting learning for all of us over the last few years, really. But honestly, as a company, we've been doing this from the beginning. So,
Lauren, you have some good lighting here, so I'm not going to try to make you too red, but I really am passionate about more people giving more people roses while they're alive and active, instead of like we're all nice when it's all over. And so, we've met recently, and I have to tell you, I have the luxury of meeting so many chief marketing officers and CEOs over the last 13 years, and a very small percentage do I leave the first meeting saying, oh, they're really on it. And I just want you to know that that's how I felt about you. And so it's a real pleasure. And I'm actually genuinely excited to hear what your hot takes are for 2023. So let's not waste any more time. What are the things that you're most excited about, or what are you seeing?
Well, that was too kind of an introduction. I too feel the same about you and your talent. So I think, I really what founded this company was founded, after the 2009 recession. And what's been interesting to see is back then, and we might forget, but there was this sort of, reformation on the old way of work. And so when people think back then, like what happened then? Obviously there was co-working. Obviously there was other flexible space providers. We were not the first ones out there. We were the first brand to really connect to what exactly people loved about their workday, and the connections you make, the people you're with, and the spaces we've created really enhanced that, the intentional design. And people loved showing up for each other and for their job in WeWork spaces. Now, over a decade later, we're dealing with the same thing. And I think, what you read in the news is that it feels like there's this reformation on, the office. But in fact, that's not actually really what people are asking for. They're really asking for more control and balance over their day. So the listening and learning we've developed over the last really 2 years is enhancing our product to create the ultimate flexibility that really can set your team up for success to how best they want to work, because it's not one size fits all. And I think one of the hot takes I would just say is reading over the last few days, everyone comes up with their new idea. You have to shorten your meetings, less calendar invites, less people in meetings, stand-in meetings, a couple days a week. But there's not one thing that's going to solve for everything. And I think that's what employees are asking for. They're asking for a holistic approach. The one tip, the one, time of day is not really what they're looking for. They're asking for a full view of what, how they can best work in this hybrid world. And we think our products can do that.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's exactly right. Like the biggest aha for me, like the amount of youngsters, especially, that in the first couple weeks of January, where we have a hybrid model of in office and out of office, so many of the kids were like reaching out to me on email, like, oh shit, I had no idea how much I was missing. Like in one day in the office, I picked up on 3 osmosis things that were incapable, we as Vayner we worked out, actually have like offices out and virtually out. And I think it's a game of and versus or. I think people are so obsessed. I think all of our anxiety on earth is that people prefer or versus and. I really do. And I think this, to your point, what got me excited to jump in is the quicker everybody figures out it's work from home and work from coffee shop and have a WeWork in like the way we use it is strategic markets, right? Like we kind of use it and we've used it a lot. I mean, we have our core offices in WeWork. We have strategic little 10-person things there. That works along with being at home, along with a big HQ in certain parts of the world. And I think the quicker people fall in love with and the quicker they're going to get a lot of value.
Right. And our, that's why last year we came out with For All the Ways You Work. I don't have the answer for you. And I think that's what everyone's figuring out. But what's been so interesting is hearing from all sizes of companies, every sector rethinking it. And they're really trying to take this more intentional approach to what their workday looks like. What's interesting is we're seeing over in international markets, in Europe in particular, people really love coming back, and there isn't the same headlines as there are here. And I think that's because European culture has really had a work-life balance built into the structure of what their day-to-day is. Like, it's in nature of them. In America, we're hustle harder. We believed that there was a time constraint into order to say, like, you're doing a good job because you're here early, you stay late. Like that.
They had a little more balance, and we're in the extremes, right? Generationally.
Yeah.
And by the way, unlimited 25-year-olds email. Like, I've had more kids under 30 email me saying, mandate everyone come back to the office, than I've had 50-year-old, 40-year-olds in my company. So but to your point, generationally, obviously not everyone, culturally, there is a certain segment that has worked for 20 years that feels everyone should come back. That's too extreme. And then I have plenty of under 30-year-olds who are like, I don't want to come into the office at all. And I'm like, that's cool. Like, we may want to find someone who does want to do that.
It's not the diabolical divide that everybody wants to make it to be.
I agree.
Everyone's saying something very similar. If you read, as I have, every terminology between what people are deciding is their schedule, remote first, hybrid, there's still a place to come together. The most remote companies are still saying to us, hey, we still want to get a space to come together for our offsite. So now the onsite is the new offsite. Like, people want to come together for the intentional collaboration. They don't want to be held to, a set schedule. But if a set schedule works for your team, it might work for your team. There isn't one size, to your point. It's and. It's not either or. And I think there's space for everything. And I think that's what we just keep developing with our product is really however you want to fit in, we're here to help you. So for all the ways you want to work and your team is most successful, we can help you. And lastly, I'll just say, I think with the, that unknown piece, people are surveying their teams. They're asking the questions. They're trying to do all the right things. I think the good intention is there, but I don't think they're getting the real insights that they can, most effectively get outside of, we have a new, I'm selling management software solution called WeWork Workplace, where like we can help you analyze exactly how much space you need, because we've all had too much space before the pandemic, and how do you best use it, and how your team is telling you how they want to use it. So there's this data that creates a bond and trust between the executives and the employees that is lacking right now. So WeWork really is in this really interesting space, not only having the benefit of listening to customers all around the world of companies of all sizes, but we also have a suite of products that no matter how you're telling us you want to work, we can help you. We can hook you up.
Lauren, thank you so much. Have the best year.
Thank
Good luck.
you. Thanks for your support.
That was a great conversation. Thank you.
And one that could be like a 2-hour thing on itself, right? At Babs, one of my favorite marketers, Ryan Harwood, and Beth Mayer love Babs a whole lot too. Buddies of mine said, on-site is the new off-site, right? Like, it was so crazy because literally this morning going to grab a coffee, I was like, oh, I might just send this Slack and tell everyone to be here next Thursday just for fun, just for vibes. And that was exactly what Babs was talking about there. Like, it's so wild how it flipped. Anyway.
Love that. Next, we have Maureen Kelly. She's the CEO and founder of Tarte Cosmetics. Maureen started Tarte out of her 1-bedroom New York City apartment. We love that hustle with a dream of developing good for you beauty that's never boring. We're big fans of all of the vegan products that Tarte has created. And 20 years later, she has built this brand into a multi-million-dollar company. Welcome, Maureen.
You're on mute. You're on mute.
That's like,
But it seemed what you were saying was profound and super exciting. I was hyped. So you could just say it again.
oh, embarrassing. I was saying, I started out of my 1-bedroom apartment in New York, and Gary has been my online mentor for 15 years. We just haven't met yet, but I hear him on my ear all the time. Time is an important commodity. Hustle, hustle, hustle. I mean, so many business decisions that I make, I just hear him saying, don't worry about being cringy. Don't worry about rejection. Oh, for 15 years, just go for it.
I'm so happy for your success. Maureen, the brand is really hitting its stride. It's incredible to me over the last 12 months, how much it's hit the lexicon more and more. I think much like a lot of things that have worked for me, I'm willing to be 6, 7, 12 years early and let it come to me. I think you're a real example of that. So for me, it's just actually very interesting to see what your hot takes are for 2023. So fire away. What are you seeing? What are you focused on? What do you like?
Yeah, all about, just keeping pivoting, right? And I think you're the king of that. So just keeping moving. Obviously, influencer marketing has been really big for us, and we do it in a really cheap and cheerful way. So we do it not by just doing paid influencer marketing, but we do it through relationships. So for us, it's not about saying like, okay, here, we're going to pay you to just do an ad for us. Like, we get face to face with them and meet them and interact with them and get them to know what we're all about, which is, very much like, lifting up women and, giving back. That's been a really big part of my DNA since 1999. Oh my gosh, can't even believe it's been that long. Sometimes it's like, the 24 years, and sometimes it feels like yesterday. And then I would say the other thing is just, keeping to try new things, right? I mean, I feel like,
you're on the heels of one right now, right? You had a real moment with this Dubai execution. I feel like there haven't been a lot of people that have innovated on influencer marketing in the last 3 years. I think people have done things around the edges, but maybe you can explain to the audience like what I'm referring to, how and what's been the aftermath, because I think you really had a moment.
Yeah. So we've been doing influencer trips since, for the past, I would say 9 years. We've been taking influencers everywhere from like to my home here in the Florida Keys after like the hurricane to, build like storm kits and things like that, to Bora Bora back in the day. And now just recently, like you're saying, Gary, to Dubai. And this past trip really took off in a big way. And we've got a lot of great feedback. Other feedback. But the key for us was,
was the other feedback like it's too glitzy and glamour? Like what was the count? What were people's like, what did they want to make of it? That it was too much?
Well, some people said, it was a female empowerment trip. We have been selling in the UAE for 7 years. And so we brought all of these like really powerful, like creative, smart women there. And we donated to a UAE charity that lifts up young girls. And so some people said you didn't bring any boys on the trip, but it was a female empowerment trip. Some people said you didn't bring.
Can we just all agree that 2023 should be the year of like, it's super okay to have a girls trip. It's super okay to have a boys trip, even though I know boys have had it better, but like, is it not okay? Can we say that it's okay to have a sports trip or like a spa? Like, can we just get to a place of like everyone on earth all agreeing that everyone's a fucking hypocrite because for whatever they try to cancel, they're doing some shit that someone else is going to cancel. Can we just speed this more? Can we just speed this the fuck up? All be canceled, to be uncanceled, to reset the whole thing. I love my right friends. I have unlimited friends on both sides. Oh, the left's too sensitive. You got mad about M&Ms. Like everyone's sensitive. Everyone's like the hypocrisy in society is fucking. That's my hot take for 2023. That the fucking horseshit hypocrisy that the entire world is trading on. There's not one fucker, me included here, that's like, that's not good. That then you do an hour later something that is completely pissing someone off. Everyone sucks. Everyone's good. Can we just fucking enough?
And we're all doing our best. Drop the freaking mic. People were saying, why?
98% of people are doing their best. And by the way, the number's down to 98% because it used to be 1% bad. Now it's 2%. Because people are just so fucking tired on the extreme left or extreme right, and it's making people go more fucking extreme. And like, what the fuck? Like, keep your fucking opinion to yourself. It doesn't. Fuck.
Yeah. Then they were saying we were tone deaf because we spend so much money. We got every single thing on
You're
the
a
trip.
business. You're allowed to spend money on what you want to spend. I think every brand that runs a fucking commercial on TV is wasting money.
Thank you.
Why is it? I would much rather take fucking influencers to Dubai than buy a fucking commercial on the AFC Championship game that not one fucking person watched.
Yeah, and we got to spend the week with them. We got to know them. We got to talk about the things that are important to us. Got to put the product on their faces. Then they said that we didn't bring people that were my age, and I was a hypocrite for that.
Everything's a problem. Ageism, youthism, like everything's a problem.
Yeah, it was a lot. Everyone had feedback on everything, but the
And by
truth
the way,
is,
I want everybody to know it's on both fucking sides, you fuckers. Like
Yeah.
everyone was like, no, you're canceling.
but like Alex
fucking
Earl brought her
you
mom, Sandra
fuckers.
brought
Enough.
all amazing moms, and they were like, the moms don't count. The moms don't count. I was like, wait, why do the moms not count? Because they're these like gorgeous, amazing moms that were incredible.
Every single thing is bad if you decide to take a snapshot, right? Like why don't we look at the whole picture? Why don't we look at the company's 365 days of activities?
Yes, it's so true. It is so true. But it was the most amazing trip. It went viral. Everyone was saying we made no sales for it, which we made so much money for it. And then people were saying that I fired my marketing team. I'm like, what? I came in Monday morning and I was like, wait, what in the world? You know, everyone has something to say for everything, but I have to say, it was truly incredible. We had all these amazing female founded products that got donated on the trip. So everything that we gave was free, and we were supporting all these cool, like entrepreneurial brands on the trip. So it was a really great viral moment that took off in the best kind of way.
What else? Well, we got 2 minutes. What else? Like, what are you seeing on TikTok? What are you seeing on YouTube? What about YouTube Shorts? Give me a little. LinkedIn. Have you done LinkedIn marketing yet? Like, talk to me.
I spend 10 minutes a night because of you on my own LinkedIn. You know, I force myself, I lay in bed at night and I'm liking people's posts. I posted on my LinkedIn before I came on this to say like, hey guys, tune in. I mean, this is a bucket list moment for me. And I created my own. Okay, so 24 years of having a brand. I've never had my own personal socials ever. Not a Facebook, not on Instagram, nothing. And I just this summer created a TikTok because, you know, I put your podcast on when I'm brushing my teeth, you know, doing my makeup in the morning. I listen to it in like 15-minute like segments, you know, all the way through to the end, go for my hot girl walks, you know, just, you know, you get it in and like, you know, you chop it up. And I felt like, you know, I listened to everything you say, but then you say, develop your own personal brand. And that's one thing I never did. So I launched my own TikTok and I have teenage boys and they were like, oh my God, Mom, you're so cringy. This is awful. All our friends in high school are like, and I have to say, it's been growing and it's been really fun. And, you know, I started overthinking the content in the beginning. I was like, you know, delete. No, I can't post this. And now I'm like, F it. I just film it. The ones that I filmed in 10 seconds, I put up, like, they're going viral. And it's so fun.
I love it. And there's nothing more fun than razzing your teenage sons. That's the ROI of the whole thing. Just forget about if anything good happens for business. Just getting those sons in check a little bit is a little fun too, right?
Especially because the girls in their schools were like, oh my gosh,
it's so cool, right? Yeah, once they realize that you might actually lead to be a gateway to some hooking up, they're going to love you for it. Right now, they're like, Mom, you suck. And then all of a sudden, like some girl in school that they really like thinks you're cool. They're going to be like, wait a minute.
Totally. I'm like, I'm cool.
You're like the ultimate wingman to your boys. This is like a fucking massive strategy.
The only time they ask me for makeup is if they're like, you know, getting like a D or like a C, like for a teacher. I'm like, oh my God. They're like, why can't you have started like a kiteboarding company or something cool? I'm like, makeup is cool. It is cool.
I'm really happy for you. Continued success, really.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you for
makeup
mentoring
is cool. It is cool. Oh. I'm so in love. Carrie, if I can tell you something, Maureen has the biggest heart. She came in to our briefing session with Summer with this wide open heart. And by the way, she started filming content during the briefing. She's the first one out in like 3 years that's done that. Just love you. Love you.
He's been waiting in person. Continued success.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, Carrie.
Uh-oh, Hannah.
I'm back.
Hannah's back. I'm out. So everybody, thank you for being on with me. Great try today, Andrea. That was a fun, Hannah, that was a fun session.
It was really fun. And very hot takes were said.
I have decided, you know this, because you've been in meetings with me. I fucking have a bleeding heart. I fucking love everybody. It's really like a disease and my superpower. But like enough judgment on each other. It's just enough. Fuck Christ.
Yeah.
As if people can't look in the mirror and see they're doing the same thing.
Let judgment be the best teacher.
Every single person here is doing dumb shit and everyone's doesn't want to. They're just trying. Anyway, love you. See you later.
Thanks for joining us. And next up, we welcome Gallery Media Group's Chief Revenue Officer, Chris Anthony, to interview our next guest, Doug Zarkin. Doug is the CMO of Pearl Vision and runs their global optical franchise business. His work with his team has won the Entrepreneur Media Top 500 Franchise Brand Awards and is currently the subject of a Harvard Business School case study on brand rejuvenation. Welcome, Doug and Chris.
What's up? I'm a little bummed. I mean, Gary's background is probably the only time I've ever been on a Zoom call where it looks more like a sports bar than mine. So
dueling background. I love it.
We'll have to take snap grabs.
Yes. And following that one, we have the bar set high.
Sure.
Good to see you, Doug.
Good to see you too.
Excited to dig into this and get your take on all things 2023. But yeah, we have 10 minutes, or a lot to get into. I'm going to run through a bunch of topics that I know you'll have an awesome hot take for 23. Kicking off, DE&I inclusivity, it's becoming much bigger requirement and conversation for all of us marketers. How do you see that approaching 23, and how are you approaching that as well?
When you use the phrase DEI, you immediately go to race. And I think as a child who's entered the phase of parenting their parents, I'm embarrassed and appalled by the way brands and businesses treat seniors. And ironically, one of the emphasis that we're placing is on the dynamic of Gen X having to care for their parents. I also think, as the parent of kids, the way in which marketers go about trying to engage with parents, especially with younger kids, is really challenging. And for us at Pearl Vision, we want to be eye care for the entire family. And so we're making a real effort to lean hard into both marketing to engage seniors in a healthy dialogue to bring their business in, but also letting parents know about things like the undiagnosed vision issues of kids. 1 out of 4 school-age kids have an undiagnosed vision issue. It's incredible. Wow. And most kids that have an undiagnosed vision issue are susceptible to being diagnosed incorrectly with a learning disability. So we want to lean into helping parents be their version of their best parent by just educating and informing and letting them know that we're here.
Love that. And it feels like you guys are just such a perfect brand, to your point, to be able to really serve that entire sort of family of customers that you guys have all the time. So yeah, love that. Such an important topic. Switching gears for a second, obviously we're just coming off the heels of CES. We know there's so much conversation around AI and ChatGPT and just tech overall in our world. How are you thinking about technology to really better those customers that you guys have?
Yeah, so 10 years ago, it was the nonsense of Amazon was killing retail. Amazon didn't kill retail. Amazon killed shitty retail. It made retailers really understand the importance of experience. And now you hear technology is going to replace human interaction. And I couldn't be less true. What technology for us at Pearl does is actually allow us to deliver a better experience. And that's because in things like digital measurements, which allow us to ensure that your glasses are fit perfectly for your face, because there's like 5% of the world that has a perfectly symmetrical face. And so digital measurements allow us to actually create a really personalized pair of glasses for you. Lens Simulator allows you to actually see what you're buying in a way that allows you to understand the commitment that you're making and why the better lenses are good for you. So we look at it as a way to just do a better job in caring for the person behind the eyes. And leaving them with a great pair of glasses they can be excited about.
So great. Yeah, I feel like there's so much innovation in health technology, and the work that you guys are doing is just really remarkable. And to your point, it just makes the customer's experience so much stronger.
Hope so.
In that same breath, 23, we're in this now. There's so much predictions around the economy, what that's going to mean for us as marketers and how we're approaching it. What's your take, and how are you thinking about 23, maybe differently or the same for the brand?
Man, I wish I could predict the future. In the absence of having that crystal ball, and certainly I'm not Nostradamus, we are really focusing on the must-dos and the need-to-dos. And by that, I mean the things that absolutely are going to allow us to achieve plan and really connect with our consumers. Then we get into like the coulds and the shoulds. And those are things that are perhaps opportunities, maybe not low-hanging fruit, but potentially allow us the opportunity to grow even faster. And for that, it's really about putting it carefully into our brand DNA filter and understanding, is it going to allow us to forge a stronger connection? Is it going to allow us to recruit patients? Is it going to allow us to build business? I don't necessarily think 23 is the year for the wants and the nice to haves, at least not at this point. Certainly if the first 6 months of this year turn out to be strong for all of us, then we're absolutely going to open the door. We have a lockbox at Pearl, to use an old phrase, that we keep some money in. It allows us to be opportunistic if something comes up, or maybe something that we want to try. I mean, one of the things I'm super proud of is that the way our team is structured, a good idea can come from anyone and anywhere. And so we absolutely avail ourselves the opportunity to take a good idea from a member of the team and bring it forward. But I think we're cautiously optimistic, and January has been pretty good to us.
Love that. Building on that, there's the whole sort of constant balance and potentially struggle of performance marketing versus brand marketing. How do you think about that as a leader, and how should anybody really think about that in this year?
So to pull a Gary V, holy shit, please stop.
Yeah.
Please stop bifurcating performance and brand. So here's the thing. Performance marketing is great. You show up on page 1 of Google, to use an example. That's wonderful. But if your brand doesn't mean anything, you're not going to generate the response that you want. Just like doing great ads that motivate consumers, if it doesn't motivate consumers to take action, then it's just pretty words on paper or pretty pictures. And so the real skill of today's CMO is being able to bring both a performance and a mindset together and figuring out that intersection. If you start to separate one from the other, what you may have is using the 7-layer cake analogy, a cake that doesn't taste great. And that's what a marketing plan is. It's a 7-layer cake of different steps to get people down into the funnel to hopefully deliver the results you want to deliver.
Love that. And to that point, we know that, finding sort of that consumer or customer, is becoming so diversified. There's so many platforms out there now. There's so much consumer attention, figuring out where that is. How do you and how do the brand think about the platforms overall in the mix? Where are you spending time? Where's the difference in previous years from a platform standpoint?
This is where the art and science comes into marketing. There are foundational elements to our plan, and I want to keep those kind of close to the chest. But what I will say is, between privacy regulations and some other changes in the digital ecosystem, we're having to take a couple steps backwards in order to take a step forward when it comes to where our investments are. One thing I'm really proud of is our continued commitment to local. Pearl Vision's a brand that was built in the neighborhood, started by a neighborhood doctor. And the success of our franchisees is in that connection with the neighborhood. So we're actually looking at a lot of offline tools, a lot of old school tools. We have this program called Cornea, which basically supports our franchisees going out in the community and doing vision screenings and eyewear cleaning and adjustments. It's really an opportunity for our neighbors to meet the people behind the eyes, the people that are caring for them in their neighborhood eye care center. And it's an incredibly successful and lucrative platform. Pre-COVID, we were generating about 20 patients per every event. And these are small events. It's a Friday night light football game. It's showing up at a church or synagogue. It's just being a part of the community. And it's allowed us to remain sticky. What's old is new again. I think you're hearing a lot about brands going back into the world of direct mail because we've done such an awful job at being disciplined with the way in which we use email. How many emails do you get a day? So we're having to look a lot of offline tools to complement our online tools, but I'm super excited about some of the progress that we're seeing in really being able to localize our marketing.
Love that. Last question. I think this probably feeds exactly into that, the whole neighborhood mentality of the brand. What's sort of just your take on, there's so much going on in the world, so much going on in industry, and sort of just the humanization of marketing. And what does that mean to you? And what do you think that should mean to the audience for 23?
Marketers used to be asked, how do you, are you a data-driven marketer? And, I'm a firm believer that data doesn't make decisions. Data helps to inform the decisions that a marketer makes. And because a marketer has to look at their target audience more than just a set of numbers on an Excel chart. We have to understand the emotions, the attributes, the feelings, the perceptions. What's the narrative going on in the head of our consumer? What's the psychographic? And that combined with the data allows you to make really good strategic bets. Look, a brand marketer would love to say they know their target audience better than they know themselves. And that just isn't the case. To be successful, you got to be humble. You have to be arrogant a bit to think that you can actually get into the mind of a consumer and motivate them to take the action you want them to take when you want them to take it. But at the same time, you have to be humble and realize that the only way to lead a brand successfully with a consumer is to listen first. And, when you're a franchise system like Pearl Vision with nearly 600 eye care centers in North America, you have a built-in pipeline for consumer feedback. You have a built-in pipeline to understand if you're doing what's working and what's not. And most importantly, you're constantly assessing the behaviors of your consumer to figure out how you can best serve them, provide them value, and doing that through really, in our case, caring about the person behind the eyes.
Love that. Such a great sort of take on 23. It sounds like you're embodying that as a leader and the brand as well. Doug, this was super great. Such great hot take for 23. Good luck to you and the brand. Excited to see all this stuff in motion and all the success around that.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, you guys. That was awesome. Chris, I love having you on this show.
Thanks for having me. It's always great. Excited. We're already a month into 23. Lots of good stuff happening.
Can you believe it? More and more and more. Let's bring it on. All right. We'll see you soon. We're going to bring Nick Miaritas up next. Nick.
Andrea. Hello.
What's up? What's up?
Can you hear me? Are you there?
Can you hear me now? I know I'm in and out. I'm feeling a tremendous amount of love today, though. This show is fire.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks to Miss Hannah for jumping in. Let's see if I can kick this one off. So guess what? We're going to bring Kate Brady up next. She's the senior director. She's in charge of next gen D2C at PepsiCo. And Kate and her team are focused on delivering meaningful consumer experiences through direct to consumer engagement. Thanks for joining us, Kate.
Hello, Kate. What is going on? How you doing?
I am great. Thanks so much for having me. It's been a great session so far.
I think you might have the coolest job at PepsiCo. Been thinking about this.
I've been really fortunate. I've had some really amazing jobs at PepsiCo, and each one just seems to get better. So really thrilled.
Oh my goodness. All right. Well, these 10 minutes always go really fast. So Let's start out with, I think we're going to go into the hot take realm of all things Web3.
Yeah.
Future of D2C. Like, this is a big topic. So
let's do it.
Viewers out there that don't know, Pepsi has really been trailblazing in this space. Lots of innovative programs. I mean, almost from like the earliest moments of when everybody started talking about all things Web3. So maybe share a little bit on the opener here about PepsiCo's journey. I mean, we've had free mints on Pepsi. We've had Gatorade with some really nice charitable benefit stuff. We've had Cheetos in the metaverse. Maybe just give a little background to the viewers, and then we'll chop it up.
Yeah, Nick. So thanks for calling it out. And I'm really, really proud about how PepsiCo puts innovation at the forefront of everything that we're doing. And for the past few years, I've really been focused on driving innovation across the organization. And the line I would always talk about is identifying what's new, what's next, and the best way for us to connect with our consumers. That's always been my role, and it's evolved into this one now. And I loved, Gary's hot take about blowing up, about buying.
It was just a little hot. I thought he'd come in hotter.
I loved it though, because it really does drive what we're trying to accomplish here. Is we recognize that this whole landscape is becoming so much more fragmented and challenged. And if we want to really connect with our consumers, especially those younger audiences, in meaningful ways moving forward, we have to innovate the way that we're doing those connections. And we see Web3 as a real big driver for doing that. We want to be at the forefront of culture, but also like driving culture when we can. And so, to remain relevant, we see Web3 as a key enabler. And so we've been exploring a number of different tools within this space. And as you mentioned, we've been executing a number of different pilots, many in partnership with the V3 team, who've been awesome partners. And over the past 6 months, we've been standing up what we're calling our Web3 Center of Enablement. But our work began about a year ago, a little over a year ago, when our first drop was actually in partnership with Vayner. And Todd Kaplan and our Pepsi brand team dropped the first generative art NFT collection. And from there, we really haven't stopped. You mentioned the digital collectible space that we've been leaning into from Gatorade perspective. We did this awesome partnership or collection where our Player of the Year activation, which is something where we're awarding, top high school athletes across the globe. This time we were able to commemorate them and memorialize them with their own digital collectible. And as a part of that, we tied it to a charitable donation. So all primary and secondary sales, or a portion of those, was going to this amazing organization called GoodSports.inc. So it was a way for us to really drive philanthropic goals, as well as like connecting with these new consumers and doing this awesome activation. You mentioned like the Horizon Worlds activation, where we did with Cheetos this purely virtual experience where we were bringing the ethos of what Cheetos is all about, and that mischief nature, and this Halloween activation where you were able to play in this virtual graveyard type of space and resurrect new flavors that in real life you were actually resurrecting some old, I think it was Chipotle Ranch Cheetos, got brought back to life based on this activation, which is awesome. But we also done, parallels to in real life experiences, like what we did with Do and Decentraland and Call of Duty's Subliner team, where we mirrored what was going on in Brooklyn and at the King's Theater. We had this esports competition going on where we did a parallel experience, but much more immersive and engaging with these games and sweepstakes in Decentraland. That was really a great way to just enhance what we're doing. And that's what I love about Web3 is that you can do so much more than what you can do in the real life, because the sky's the limit on the capabilities. But so over the past 6 months, we've done almost 15 different separate activations across the globe. So I work across all markets, all brands, and everyone's really excited to lean in. So right now, they're smaller efforts. We're testing and learning, but right now is the time to lean in, understand like what's working, what's not, and continue to grow from those activations. And so I'm really proud of what we've accomplished in that pretty relatively short time.
Oh yeah. I mean, and it seems like it's just speeding up, right?
Yeah,
starts
totally.
small, becomes exponential. And generally speaking, the excitement level when you see these things go live, it's just so cool because it all feels like it's never been done before, right?
100%.
So in terms of Fortune 500, PepsiCo, I think like the scale at which PepsiCo operates is just so awesome on so many levels. What should, Fortune 500 companies might be watching, be asking themselves about Web3 in general? What should the conversation be if they haven't gotten into, having an approach yet? Like, start by starting. How do you get going?
Yeah, great question. And I think for us, some of the key questions we're always asking is, what's the specific use case or applications that align to our business goals and objectives? This shouldn't just be about driving PR or buzz. For us, we see this as a huge unlock for helping drive first-party data acquisition. So that's been a priority for us as we move forward. Another is really about how do we incorporate the technology into our existing systems and processes? So make it really more of a seamless, frictionless integration. How do we stay ahead of the curve in terms of Web3 adoption and innovation? For us, our position is by building the capabilities internally, it will yield significant dividends in the future versus us waiting back, seeing how it all works out, and then trying to catch up. But at the same time, we're also as we're building those internal capabilities, we're also building and forming tons of new partnerships, like what we've done with V3, that help us leverage, really driving the accelerated approach. One of the biggest challenges that we've faced today, which I think is so important, is just how do you ensure security and compliance with the regulations as you're implementing these Web3 tech? So for us, I have spent more time with our securities law team than I've ever imagined I would before. But it's really important at this point. When you're basing everything against 1933 written securities laws, you have a lot of discussion and debate to try and figure out how are we actually structuring ourselves to comply with these existing regulations. So, we are hopeful that there will be some forced regulation, especially with the crazy, everything that happened with FTX over the summer and all what we've seen recently. It's horrible, but at the same token, we're hoping that helps drive some more regulation in the future. When we think about our approach, it's really about, it has to include doing research and staying informed on what the latest developments in this tech is. This is such a massive task, is how new the space is. But education is really top at my list of what the approach should be moving forward, because you need to take your key stakeholders along in this journey. Yep. We talked about the use cases. I think that from an approach perspective, just ensuring that you have the applications that's aligning with your goals. Building a team and working with external partners, both internally and externally. I'm sure if you ask anyone in any sort of Fortune 500 company, you're going to find a ton of people raising their hand to say, hey, I want to help. This is amazing. I want to get involved. So let them lean in and help your agenda as you're developing out those capabilities. And for us, testing and piloting has been critical to doing this. And so we've done a number of these proofs of concept or pilots to deliver on these hypotheses that we've had. And this, like I said, is the time to test and learn. I think that, it's going to be accepted a lot better now than if you're failing 5 years from now and really don't understand the space. So this is where we get a little bit more time to work out the kinks.
Nice. Let's try and squeeze one or two more in real quick. So hot take here, jumping around off the back of that. What opportunities do you see in the world of Web3 and knowing your role in terms of rewards, loyalty program, the future of D2C. I think you have such a cool front row seat to really continue to lead there. So hot takes for 23, where are we going?
We, I think where we started with our Web3 approach to where we are now, that's really shifted. And where initially we were focused on like, hey, how are we using this to drive new net revenue streams? I think we've evolved to like, how are we using this to drive deeper, more meaningful engagement with our consumers and these new audiences, building communities? How are we leveraging it from a utility perspective? And really, how can this help enable a better rewards loyalty platform type of program? So that's where we've really pivoted our approach of away from just, there might be future opportunities from a revenue perspective. For us, though, it's really about what utility can this offer in helping drive deeper, more immersive experiences, more meaningful consumer engagement, and then helping us drive our loyalty rewards platform. This is something of a huge priority for us because we see that this can enable it can help us enable more engaging, rewarding customer loyalty programs in a more efficient, transparent, and secure nature than we've ever seen in the Web 2 spot.
Oh, that's so cool. All right, last one real quick before they kick us off here. I bet people watching right now are like, wow, Web3, I wonder where do I start? So knowing you've been on this journey, what are the resources, the go-tos, the YouTube channels, the podcast? Where do you go to get inspired, to get information about the space?
Yeah, I listen to a ton of podcasts. That's really been my source of information. I've read a few books. I found, I think it's so hard because it's so new and there's so much new information coming out. Books, I feel like, are really hard to lean into because it's how does it get published and still be relevant? But like Kathy Hackle is an amazing resource. Just listening to her podcast. The Web3 Academy has been a great resource just from an education perspective. Things like Andreessen Horowitz Web3 with A16Z has been great. Welcome to the Metaverse. There's so many out there. If you just put in Web3 or Metaverse into the search engine, a ton will pop up. And I found so much value, like just listening to a few of them. Even things like Web 2.5, I think, that approach of how we're evolving from Web 2 to Web 3, loving that take on things, on these companies that are on similar journeys is what we're doing. So huge resource opportunity to just listen in and learn from these experiences.
Nice. I got some homework to do this weekend. That was good. that was basically for me. Thank you so much. Couldn't be proud of the partnership we're building, and just so excited to show the world soon some new stuff too. So stay tuned.
Thank you so much. That's great.
Awesome. Hannah's back. No Andrea.
Thanks, Nick. And last but not least, I have the honor of chatting with the amazing Lindsay Kaplan. Lindsay is the co-founder and chief brand officer of Chief. And if you're not already familiar with what Chief is, it is the most powerful network of women executives in the world. She's been named one of Business Insider's most innovative CMOs in the world and one of Ad Age's leading women. And I really cannot wait to chat with her today. I know we've had a couple of chats, but welcome, Lindsay.
Thanks, Hannah.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm excited to chat with you.
Good.
All the hot takes.
It is a lot of hot takes that we've had. But before we get started, can you just give us your founder story and what really inspired Chief?
Sure. So Chief came from a really personal place. I had actually, prior to Chief, been working at a startup. It was a hot D2C New York City startup that everybody knew. I was the first full-time employee. And as that company grew, I became one of the few women in leadership. And I also pretty quickly got pregnant. And so I was juggling this paradox of, first of all, as you're a female leader, your decisions have outsized impact. So you already have the challenges of knowing what it is to be a leader and knowing that you're representing all of the women because they're looking up to you at the top. But then I also needed to put together my own mat leave policy. And so I felt like there was this personal need as a leader that I really wanted a community of other women who were at that executive level, who understood that, we have a lot of different challenges and a lot of bias going up against us. And so there's a vanishing act of resources for women at the top. Wouldn't it be great to really collect all of these incredible women and put them into one great network?
That's really incredible. And so you've already kind of hit on this, but can you tell us what is so special about the community at Chief? And even get a little bit into what did you learn during COVID and the pandemic?
Oh, I learned to be very thankful for my nanny. Well, let me take a step back and tell you a little bit about what makes Chief different. So there are a lot of organizations out there for leadership, and there are a lot of women's organizations. And what we found is that they're really verticalized. So I had been a part of, women in advertising, there's women in marketing. And what generally happens is the women executives in those organizations become the de facto mentors, right? So all of a sudden, where do the mentors go for co-mentorship? So again, we created this private network that has criteria so that you are with other members who get it, who are at that level of leadership. So right now, 77% of Fortune 100 companies have a chief member in their leadership teams. And collectively, chief members control $800 billion of the global economy. So this is a really special network, and it is incredibly powerful.
That's amazing.
And I can speak to what we learned during the pandemic, which you mentioned, which is that when times are tough, those times hit women harder.
Yeah.
And so we've seen two things. The first is that the pandemic really accelerated the need to make sure that women and marginalized people are supported, right? Because they're the first people that end up leaving the workforce during times when childcare is in limbo. It also really reinforced the need for community. So we were all isolated, we're all alone, we're all working from home. That is when we need each other more, right? That is when you really need to find a community and a network of people who can be there and to support you.
That's amazing. Knowing that you are, and you've created this really beautiful community of high-powered female executives, what are the current topics those leaders are talking about? What is important for them as they look ahead into this new year?
Well, we're constantly evolving our programming, and right now we're paying a lot of attention to the impact of global economic headwinds. So we've done a lot to support our members because some of them are making decisions related to the economy. Some of them are having to enact layoffs, and other people are the victims of layoffs. So we stood up our career transition group. We have speakers like executive coach Susan Peppercorn, and we have a lot of workshops around navigating the downturn.
That's amazing. This is a little bit different, but a lot of organizations right now, I think in particular, as we're going into this hybrid work mode, are struggling with how to build cultures and communities that are relevant for the current climate that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
What would you share with our community of leaders on what they should be thinking and doing?
So I think it's about making sure that we're being thoughtful around inclusive workplace practices. So when you think about back to work, women are 25% more likely to accept a job that's remote because they have caregiving responsibilities by and large on top of generally what their counterparts have. So we need to think about what do the policies look like beyond just parental leave and mat leave, but what are we doing to implement a culture in our organizations that is mindful of caregiving, that is thoughtful about flexible hours? Are we doing a 4-day work week for certain individuals? What does a part-time schedule look like? Why do people need to go back to the office every single day? These are all really important pieces of the puzzle that help create a better environment for marginalized people and women.
Love that. Any hot takes for 2023? I love the 4-day work week that you kind of just snuck in there, but what are your—
It's a good one. Yeah, at Chief, we have a 4.5-day work week. So we do half-day Fridays. We started it during the pandemic, and we realized our team was incredibly productive and really needed that time Friday afternoon to run errands, go to doctor's appointments, have time off just to relax. So huge fan of the 4 or 4.5-day work week. Hot takes is that companies that don't continue to invest in DEI in 2023 will have their butts handed to them in 2024. So we are seeing companies now step up, put their money where their mouth is, and invest in DEI programs. It's the right thing to do, and it's also going to make your company stronger.
Yeah, I mean, it's massive. So many companies took a big pledge in 2020 and 2021, and it really is time to deliver against those things.
Exactly.
Anything else you want to share in like our last minute to 2 minutes here? Anything about Chief? Anything about yourself?
Yeah, I think that we are seeing the need again to support senior women. We're seeing women dropping out across the pipeline, but particularly as they get into these manager to director positions, and then again, that director through C-suite. And so when we think about what we want to do to support women, to make sure that companies are really striving towards gender equity within their organizations, we have to think about supporting the women who are in these positions of power, because we put them on a pedestal. We ask them to do their job really well and to carry the extra burdens, the third shift of mentoring, speaking on panels, speaking up for progressive workplace policies. And those women need to be supported. So we're really excited that we just rolled out our enterprise offering. And so now companies can come directly to Chief and work with us on nominating women in their executive level positions. So shout out to some incredible companies that have partnered with us already, like United Healthcare, IBM, Yum Brands, big companies that are stepping up and really want to make sure they're doing the right thing and supporting the executive women on their teams.
That is really incredible, Lindsay. Thank you so much for sharing all of your insights on Chief. And you know, I would love to get involved someday. I've heard some, I mentioned this in our first conversation, but I've just heard some really incredible personal stories from friends of mine who have had amazing experiences with Chief, the community there, the network aspect, which I think you actually don't get enough in different club-like organizations. And so the fact that you guys are thinking about programming for the recession and whatnot, you know, in a really smart and impactful way is just massive. So kudos to you and the whole team at Chief.
Thanks, Hannah. There's a membership spot open for you whenever you're ready.
Amazing.
Way to close out the show, you guys. That was incredible, really deep and really important. Thank you so much. And a special thanks to Miss Hannah. We've got people in the comments that are like, bring her back, bring her back.
I'm always here, guys.
Always there for me. You're always there for everybody. I'm just glad that my internet was able to power on so I could come on live and just give you a big hug.
I love it. It's rallying one more time for us, Andrea.
Let's close it out. Thank you, Hannah. All right. And thanks everyone for joining the show today. We've got another show coming up that's actually on AI, which has been a big topic of conversation today. So please join us on March 6th for that episode from 12 until 1 Eastern time. Thanks, everybody, and we'll see you very soon. Check out or please feel free to send on the recording to your friends and family. You can check us out on MFTN for marketingforthenow.VaynerX.com. See you soon.